Hey guys, it's Heidi. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing another craft show setup with me, but this one is very special because this marks the 1-year anniversary of me starting my craft show journey. It's really crazy to see how much I've evolved over this past year, not only with my booth setup, but also my products, and I am so proud of myself for getting this far and changing and growing the way that I have. So this video is to show you guys how much growth and progress I've made over this past year. And also I do have some pros and cons to share with you a little bit later in the video. But for now, you guys can go ahead and enjoy watching Trey and I set up for this year's craft show. Hey guys, it's Heidi. We're about to start our craft show here. We're all set up and we're hoping for a good day and make lots of sales and everything. So let's get started. And now that I have that show all wrapped up and finished, I can officially say that I have been in the craft show business for 1 whole year. If you guys haven't seen that video from a year ago of me doing my first ever craft show, I would highly recommend watching it. It gives you a lot of great tips for just starting out, and it was my first ever show, so it was definitely very new to me, and I learned a lot from that experience. But now that I've gotten a year of craft shows underneath my belt, I thought that it would be interesting to tell you guys what my 5 pros and cons are after selling at craft shows for an entire year. Now, a little disclaimer, these are my experiences and my thoughts and feelings about the situation, and you should take this with a grain of salt. My experiences could be completely different from yours, and ultimately it is your decision to make for yourself and for your business, and I would do whatever is beneficial to you and makes you happy in the end. So if you're on the fence about doing craft shows, or you just want to know more about it before you jump into it, check out this list and it may help you make the decision of whether or not selling at craft shows is for you. So let's get started. My first pro is that you get to design your booth however you want to. So with that being said, you are able to have full control of what you want your booth to look like and how you want it to represent yourself and your business. So you could take your own aesthetic, your own personality, your own style, and you can incorporate that into all of the components of your table and your setup, along with your products, obviously, because that speaks a lot about you too. And you are able to express yourself not only through your products, but also the way you present your products, which I think is a lot of fun to do, and it's really cool. Moving on to a con, as much fun as it is to be able to decorate your own booth and make those decisions, it also is so much work between having to design it, all the components that go into that, from having to pack it all up into totes and into crates and get it all into your vehicle or trailer, and also just getting to the location and setting all of that up and tearing it all down at the end. It is so much work, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it takes us probably a good, I want to say 2 to 3 hours, depending on if we've done a mock setup before the show, or depending on the size of the space, or depending on a lot of factors. But it takes time and it takes patience to be able to make your booth the way that you want it to, but ultimately in the end I feel it is so worth it to do. But just know that it takes a lot of work to transport it everywhere, to set it up and tear it down, and just designing it is a lot of work on your part. So that is just one thing that I will say about that. My second pro is the fact that you get to meet new people. Not only do you get to meet your customers in person, but you also get to make relationships with potential customers and clients that you could be working with in the future. Craft shows are an incredible way to meet new people, and I know that I have met quite a few people in this past year that I still talk to this day, whether that be other crafters or returning customers or event organizers or whatever. But you are able to meet so many people, and you get to talk and discuss things, and you get to talk to them about their business, and meeting people is definitely a pro, and you get to make a lot of long-lasting connections that way. Moving on to the con, even though you get to meet a lot of new people, a lot of times these shows are on the weekends. Some shows can be during the week. I haven't participated in any yet, but I know that I have seen some before. But more than likely the shows that you will be participating in will be on the weekend. But the reason that they have these shows on the weekend is because a lot of people work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 or whatever that may be. So they want to have the best turnout possible, because you want people to show up to these shows. That way they can support the vendors and support the organization that's putting it on. And if you had a show during the week, I would have a feeling that it wouldn't be nearly as popular, because people have to work Monday through Friday a lot of the time. So that is a con of mine, the fact that you do have to work weekends when you'd rather be relaxing after working all week, whether you have a full or part-time job during the week, or if you work on your business full-time during the week. But it's also the way that you get to sell things and make some money. So my third pro has got to be marketing and getting your name out there. With all of these people that you're meeting at these new shows, you are able to get your name out there and do some marketing. And participating in craft shows is a great way to do that, because you are able to meet a ton of people at one time. You are able, even if they don't buy anything from you, have a stack of business cards on you or on the table, and as they walk by, or if they seem a little bit interested in your product, take one of your business cards and explain that you have an online shop or you have social medias or both or whatever, and hand them a business card and say, if you are interested in any of my products in the future or any of my services, here is my card and this is how you can get a hold of me. That way, when people are actually ready to use your service or buy your product, they can reach you at a different time instead of them having to make that prompt decision to buy something from you right then and there. So being able to market and get your name out there is definitely a big pro when selling at these craft shows. Moving on to my third con, it has to be profit uncertainty. A lot of you guys have been asking me, how much do I make at each show, or do I have a certain number that I hit? Honestly, and I've said this in comments before, it really depends on the show, because I have went to some shows that I don't think that I'm gonna do well at all, and I do a lot better than I expect. Now then I go to another show where it's a giant weekend show and I bring tons of product and I expect to do really, really well, and I don't do nearly as well as I thought I would. So when you're selling at these shows, you can't expect to make a certain amount of money each time that you go, because either you're gonna have a great day that a lot of people want to buy your product and you'll make a lot of sales and a lot of profit, or you may have some days that you're barely able to cover your booth fee at the event. I know that one of the most recent shows that I went to, there were people walking out of there saying they didn't even get any sales or make any money, or even they didn't even make enough to cover their table fee. I really felt for them because luckily I made a really good amount at that show, but I was counting my blessings because I was walking out of there with profit at least, where some people lost money or they didn't make any money, you know. So that is something to be aware of, is when you do these shows and when you decide to sign up for these and pay the vendor fee to participate in them, don't expect that you're going to earn the same amount of money each time that you go to one of these. Sometimes you'll make bank, other times you will walk out of there thinking this was a giant waste of my time. So that is something that I would definitely watch out for, is the fact that you don't know how much you're going to be making each time, if anything at all. So that's the con that I thought that I'd share with you. My fourth pro is the fact that you're able to build a community. And I know that I kind of said this in the meeting new people sort of pro, but this is an entirely different pro for me, because building a community isn't just about meeting people. Building a community is being able to take your product or your service and building that community around it. So whether that be returning customers or, you know, people that want to work with you, because I've had some people that have come up to me who have owned local businesses in my town and said something about me potentially selling in their stores, and I have a community of people that I have around me, and I'm sure it'll keep on growing the more and more shows that I do. You know, people recognize me now when I go to these shows, and it really warms my heart because I know that I have become part of their community and they have become a part of mine. And that is one of my favorite things about doing shows, is it's not only about meeting people, it's about building your own community of people that care about you and your business and who support you no matter what. I think the community is very strong when it comes to these sort of things. Moving on to my fourth con, as much fun as all of this can be with designing your booth and making your products and entering into shows, it can be really expensive to start selling at craft shows. I know when I first started, I had a lot of starting expenses, and make sure that you take all of those expenses that you accumulate and put them towards tax write-offs for your business, because anything that goes towards your business can be a tax write-off. But realistically, you spend a lot of money getting ready to do one of these shows for the first time, and not to mention it is very expensive to buy the materials to make your products or to perform your services, and it is very expensive to pay for gas nowadays to get to these events that you're going to, and not to mention table fees and vendor fees. owning a business is expensive in general, and for craft shows specifically, it's mostly the product cost, it's the table fee, and it's the travel expenses. Not to mention if you have to rent a trailer or a truck or something to transport your products and your setup equipment. But the startup costs, I feel like, is where you get hit the hardest. Once you buy all of the things to start your journey, you're not gonna have to buy them again, at least until like the things that you bought wear out, which hopefully isn't for like a few years. I know that basically all the things that I bought to start my journey, I still have. I have maybe only had maybe 2 or 3 things, and they were like real little dollar store things that I had to replace from doing these shows. So that is something to be aware of, is that you have a lot of startup costs when you're wanting to begin this journey. You have travel fees, you have vendor fees for even selling at these shows, and it can be really expensive just to make your products in general. As much fun as it is also a job and an expense. So I would take that into consideration when you're thinking about doing craft shows. And my 5th and final pro has to be the fact that when you sell at these things, you are able to showcase your talent and your passion. You don't enter one of these shows just because you want to make some money, even though obviously that's the goal, is to make money from your passion. But you get started because you want to show the world what you are capable of doing, what you make with your own 2 hands. Your passion is what led you into wanting to learn about selling at craft shows anyway, right? You want to make product and you want to show your passion off to the world. And me personally, I think that that is one of the most rewarding things about selling at these shows. Obviously, you want to make money off of your business because you want to be able to profit off of your passion. But at the end of the day, your passion and your drive is what really brought you here in the first place. It makes it all worth it when you are able to sit behind your table and look at the product you spent so much time working on, and people get a smile out of it or tell you how beautiful it is or even purchase it, you know. And so ultimately, I think that that's what makes it most worth it. And money is just a pro, and obviously that's what we all, you know, strive for, because you want to make a living. But at least for me, half the joy of doing this is the fact of seeing people smile and being able to share my creativity and my passion with the world. My 5th and final con has to be the fact that as much fun as all of this is, it can be so mentally and physically draining. And you really don't think about that when you're thinking of all the exciting things that you get to do when you sell at craft shows, like meeting people and making money and being able to showcase your work. At the end of the day, when you go home after a full day of selling and setup and teardown and everything, you're tired. And I know firsthand that between talking to people and mentally preparing yourself the night before and the morning of and everything, that it can be so draining. And I know that I've come home multiple times from doing these shows to just laying back on the couch and being all like, oh, why do I do this? You know, I'm so tired from talking to people all day and moving things and setting things up and, you know, using my brain all day and everything. But again, as mentally and physically exhausting as it can be, you're also doing it for a reason, because you have that passion and that drive to want to make something out of your passion, like I said in the last pro. So as mentally and physically exhausting as it can be, I think it's all worth it in the end. But that is something to know, that when you do sell at these shows, between all the setup that you have to do prior, all the product that you have to make beforehand, and not to mention just doing the show in general, and by the time you tear down and bring everything back in the house, it can be very mentally and physically exhausting. And I think that's important to know when you're wanting to get into this, because it can seem so exciting at first, but you have to prepare yourself for how exhausting it can truly be. At the end of it, I think it's still worth it, but that's just me. So with all that being said, I think the things you should take away from this video is, in the beginning, you're gonna be able to design your own booth and your own products, and that's gonna be a lot of fun. But making all of that product, and all the prep work that you have to do it can be a lot of work. When you are actually selling at the shows, you are able to meet a ton of new people in person, including customers and potential connections and everything. But to do that, you'll probably have to work some weekends and sacrifice your time off to follow this dream. And while you're meeting those new people, you can get your name out there and you can do more marketing for your online store or your social media or just your local small business. And that is really important, so that way people know how to get a hold of you and how to get your product. When you're doing these shows, your profit may be all over the place. You may have some shows that you go to that you do extremely well at, and other shows you go to, you may not walk out of there with much. But that is an uncertainty that you risk when you decide to sell at these shows. But you are able to build a community through the people that you meet at these shows. And even if you don't have such a great show financially, being around this community of people definitely brightens your day. You will be spending some money to do these shows. Startup costs are pretty rough, but once you get through those, it'll be a lot easier to make your money back. Ultimately, you are in these shows because you want to chase your dreams and you want to share your passion and your creativity with others, whether that be through products or whether that be through services. And even though it can be so mentally and physically exhausting, it is all worth it in the end to be able to share your individuality and your light with the people around you that you share it with. So guys, those are my 5 pros and cons for selling at craft shows after a 1-year experience. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope this video gave you some insight on the pros and cons of selling at craft shows, and I hope you learned something from it. Before I go, I just wanted to let you guys know that my small business, Bright Eye Studios, now has an official website. If you go to the link in my description, you can check out that website, and I have my products that I make selling on there. I do ship anywhere in the US for free, and I would be more than happy to talk to you about getting a custom order placed. I am so proud of myself for getting a website posted for my business, so that way I can share my passion and my products all over the country and potentially the world. Whether you need a gift for the holidays or any other time of year, I would really appreciate you checking out my website in the link below and supporting me and my small business. Please don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe before you go. I really appreciate you being here, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye!